FM 101.1. My goodness, the phone's ringing already, Bob. Let's see if this is actually a call for you here. Good morning. Are you calling for Bob?
Yes, I am calling for Bob.
He is calling for you, Bob. He couldn't wait for you to get here. He's just in the door and ready to speak. Go ahead.
Very good. Is he ready for the question?
He's ready for the question.
Okay, I have two questions, Bob. One, is it now the time of year that we can trim the forsythia bush? And two, what do you know about the maple trees? The leaves are just kind of drying up and turning brown and falling off.
Two good questions.
Yeah, how about that?
Forsythia first.
All right, so forsythia blooms early in the spring. So the preferred time, the best time to do it if we're trying to preserve the floral display in the spring would be right after it flowers in the spring is the best time. Now,
okay.
If you don't care about that or it's gotten out of bounds and you need to trim it up some, you can do it anytime. You can do it now, whenever. If you need to rejuvenate the plant, if it's really overgrown and you just need to get it back under control again, you can rejuvenate it by cutting it all back, to about within a foot of the ground. That I would wait till dormant season, late winter, before the whole spring process starts all over again.
So now's not the best time.
Like in December or January?
I would wait till the worst of winter is over. If you have branches that are sticking out over a sidewalk or driveway or something now, go ahead and...
It's getting pretty wild.
Yeah, you can start and get it cleaned up now, but if you really want to get it back and get it under control again, wait till late dormant season. So that's going to be March, after the worst of winter's over. Then you can just cut it off within a foot of the ground and thin out some of the oldest canes because probably it'll make a thicket and you'll get maybe 10, 20, 30 canes coming out of that one plant if it's really vigorous and overgrown. So take the oldest ones and take a third of those oldest ones and just cut those literally to the ground and leave some other stems there and then let it grow back from there.
Okay, so that's forsythia now. Maple trees, the leaves are browning up.
Yeah. Does that answer the question on the forsythia?
Yes, that will answer the question. If I want to save it and wait till it blooms in the spring and then trim it back,
yes.
But if I want to really give it a fresh start, late March, cut her down to the ground. I mean, within about a foot to the ground.
Yes.
Okay, I got that.
All right. It's a pretty resilient plant, and it'll come back. It'll take a little time. When you do that rejuvenation pruning, and you can do that on lilacs and some of the other multi-stem shrubs as well that get overgrown and out of place, we can trim them back hard. It'll take a year or two, but there's enough root system and energy in that plant to send up new shoots, and it'll be younger, it'll be healthier, and it'll get a better flower display. That's the other thing. When we let these go too long, then you still get a lot of growth and greenness out of them, but the floral display is not as good usually. So that's
noticed that. That's true. We have noticed this one has not been doing a lot of blooming in the spring.
Yeah, so as that wood gets older, more of the energy in the plant goes into keeping that woody part of that plant going, and less energy is available to go into producing flowers and keeping that on a consistent manner.
Okay, very good.
All right, so maple trees. There's probably several different reasons for that. One is it's been a long growing season. We have had some stresses along the way, especially if some of those trees are sited where there was more than ample moisture for most of the growing season. So some of those in little wetter spots, they could be stressed a little bit and starting to brown up and lose their leaves because they just had too much moisture over the summer. There's also some diseases, leaf diseases that could have been on there. There's a tar spot, and there's a couple insects that'll cause galls on the leaves, or you'll get little growths of the actual leaf the cells will divide and you'll get these little growths. But there's several different insects that will cause that to occur, and that can also, by this point in the season, start to make the leaves decline a little bit, and so they can start and drop off sooner than they might otherwise.
Okay.
So in most cases, it's probably not a big deal. Now, if you start to see dieback, because the leaves are turning brown and falling because the branch is dying, then we need to look a little closer at what's going on there. And it might just be, a branch or two that's going. And then if that's the case, then we need to get that dead wood removed as soon as possible.
Okay. It could have to do with the age of the tree. I mean, these trees are, getting, pretty old.
Yeah, and it could be stress from this growing season of having too much moisture for too long. So there could be a little bit of root damage there, and so then when that happens, then there'll be a little lag time, but then we'll start to see that in the foliage will respond to that.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And there, spider mites, aphids, those things can be on there and go pretty much unnoticed. Aphids, you can stand under the tree, and if there's a good population of aphids on the tree and you stand underneath it, you'll get rained on with sap coming down because aphids are sucking insects. They stick their mouth parts in and remove the sap out of the plant. Then they take energy from that, run it through their bodies, and then what the sugars that they don't use out of that sap gets excreted.
We're getting aphid poo on us?
Yeah.
Great.
And so it'll rain down.
There's aphid poo raining down on us.
So
I'm just getting a nice mental picture of that.
Yeah, it's more liquid
than
sap, but that's what they do.
I don't feel any better about it.
You don't?
No.
Don't be standing under a raining tree.
Okay, then. That's a good plan.
So, but the effects of that over the growing season, you may notice little during the growing season, but at this point, some of those leaves may have been damaged enough that also causes them then to turn color a little early. And
now, we had a very moist, cool summer.
Yes.
And the weather the last week and a half and continuing for the next little while is going to be what we should have had back in June.
Yeah. A few weeks ago.
Trees, plants, they're not used to that. Lawns, they're just not used to this type of a weather pattern. So that's going to affect them now because of this weather pattern?
Yeah, it'll have, although most plants are starting to slow down a little bit at this point anyhow, especially any deciduous trees and shrubs. And the turf usually has a comeback period now because the days are getting a little shorter. Should be cooler. We're still getting, cooling off some at night, so that helps. But
yeah, we're getting more moisture at night too. From
little
the dew,
and we're not getting any rain. So that also is things hot in the day and not getting any rainfall. That tends to start to dry things out. And when they've been used to having all that moisture all summer, some of those roots are going to be shallower than they normally might. Because they've got to go in search of moisture, and when it's right there, they don't have to work too hard. When it's deeper in the ground, then they've got to spread out those roots farther and seek that out. And then when we do get in a dry period, they're more able to handle that versus maybe now when we've had ample moisture and excessive moisture for so long, they could get a little stressed a little faster because we're not getting rainfall now.
We had earlier this week from the Evergreen Conservancy, a professor from IUP came in.
Yes.
And was talking about a program coming up at Blue Spruce called What's Buggin' Our Trees. And specifically, he is thinking of chestnut and spruce. And talking about, in particular, when he was talking about the spruce and the evergreen trees in general, the mold, no, not the mold. What did he call it? The fungus. The fungus that has affected them and is wiping out entire plots of trees. For Indiana County, that's big news, isn't it?
Yeah, and some of this has been happening. So we've got the hemlock woolly adelgid is one that's been attacking hemlock, although prior to that, We've had spruce spider mite, and then there's an eriophyid mite that is a cool season mite that also has been attacking hemlock for a period of years. So those things, and now you add in this hemlock woolly adelgid, then that becomes another stressor there to attack them. Of course, we've had emerald ash borer, that invasive pest that has swept through here and elsewhere and pretty much wiped out the ash trees. And
when you have insects,
then the spruce. Oh, I was going to get back to the spruce.
Okay.
Colorado. So what we typically commonly call blue spruce, because the foliage is blue, that also, we should call that Colorado spruce.
Okay.
All right. Because you could have two trees that are both Colorado spruce standing side by side. One shows the blue, one could be green.
So the Colorado blue spruce,
yeah,
is what we should call it.
So, but that
confused.
species has been very good for us for decades, and it's been other species, especially pines and things, that have been much more affected by diseases and insect pests. So Scotch pine is kind of the stand-up tree for that and it's been grown here for,
Ever.
forever. But that one was known to have multiple, 12 or 13 different insects alone that would attack it, and then several different needle casts and other diseases that would also get on that. So that one has always been a troublesome one along the way, and is usually short-lived, and it might live 20, 25 years around here, and then it will decline. And then you get in. So the spruce has been pretty good. Well, all of a sudden now, there's several different diseases, funguses that have been attacking Colorado spruce, and it's not just here, but it's shown up in other states as well. But they are severely affecting them at this point.
Absolutely are. Yeah. Okay. Well, that program is going to be on the 29th.
Yes.
Which is a week from tonight at Blue Spruce Park. Okay, very good. It is Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank. It's WCCS at AM 1160, FM 101.1. We're headed toward Fox News at the top of the hour. That's just a minute and a half away.